Hello everyone, my name's Rhiannon from Blue Dog Board Games. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I wanted to go through all the games that I've been playing solo in the month of March. Now March was a really good month for me gaming wise. I have never played so many hours, I've never played so many different games in the same month as well. I don't really know why. I think the weather's just a bit rubbish in the UK still, and for some reason I've really got the motivation to just keep playing even when I'm tired in the evening, and I wanted to play lots and lots of different games. Hopefully these videos won't actually be quite as long as this one maybe, and I hopefully won't repeat myself too much because I do tend to play the same game multiple times. And I just wanted to share with you all the games that I've been playing solo, just in case they are of interest to you. Now, the app that I use to track my plays is Board Game Stats. You may have heard of it, and I'll pop the icon up in this little corner. It's really good. I would highly recommend it. I do believe you have to pay for it, but it is quite cheap and it's got plenty of functionality, so I think it's well worth the money if you can afford that one. It's also got an option to sort of give you a deeper analysis into your gaming stats as well, so you can keep track of all of your games in your collection, how much you paid for the game. It also breaks it down into like the cost per play, if that's your thing. I just tend to record where I'm playing, what I'm playing, my score at the end, and how long I've actually been playing, because I like to see my hours rack up. So having a look on the stats, I have actually gamed for a total of 55 hours in March. I played every single day, and I played 22% of my own collection this month, which is pretty good actually. I still have quite a few games in my collection which are multiplayer, so I'm never going to really reach the 100% mark, because some of them are like party games or games that are less popular and with like my family and friends that I may not get to the table and don't have a solo mode. But I think 22% is pretty good, and that was a total of 73 different plays as well. Okay, so without further ado, we're going to get started, and we're going to start off with the game that I played the most times in the month of March. So this is a game that I actually acquired in the month of March, and it is a classic, but I have not played it before. Agricola. Now this is the revised edition, so it does have the Anna meeples in it and the veggie meeples. I have played a couple of Uwe Rosenberg games. I have got another few in my collection that are more popular from a solo perspective. Agricola was never really one that people talked about, so I was a little bit reluctant into purchasing it, but it's known to be one of the best original worker placement games. Everyone talks about it as being high on Board Game Geek many years ago, so I just felt that it's a rite of passage that I play this game. Out of the base game box, it's just a sort of beat your own score game, but this revised edition does have a sort of campaign where you take cards that you've played in your solo game and take them into your next game. You're just supposed to play a series of 8 games and try and beat a target score every single time, and that target score increases. I surprised myself where I got to game 6 of 8. I didn't really expect to get that far, and I absolutely loved this game so much. It was fantastic. I didn't expect to like it half as much as I did. It's a game that I feel has been play tested to every inch of its life. Now, I don't know if any rule changes have been made through the original edition to the revised edition. Maybe some of the cards have been tweaked or something like that. But I feel like this is one of the most polished games I've ever played. It feels so well balanced, and it plays in a perfect amount of time. It's pretty much bang on an hour when I play it solo. There may not be much variability from game to game. For some people, I think there is plenty enough. It's not a game that I would say that I want to play endlessly back to back, but I played, let's have a look how many times I played it. I think I played this 10 times this month, and I only acquired it this month. And so 7 of those were a campaign. I lost the very first game that I played in the campaign, so I restarted again, and that's when I had 6 plays back to back of campaign play. I got to game 6. I also did play this 2-player with my husband. Very much enjoyed it 2-player as well. Some people think that this one is too competitive. It's it's a game where you really have to focus on feeding your people, but I didn't find it too much of a struggle. There are multiple ways of feeding your people. It is something you have to be aware of, but I don't feel it's too challenging for that, and there's always something that you can do. So yeah, that's Agricola. I absolutely love this game, and I'm going to do a playthrough of this at some point. The second game on my list for the month, I have played this a total of 10 times. Over 5 hours. Now, it's a game that I've had for quite a long time. I played it solo, I played it multiplayer a few times, and it's sort of sat on my shelf for a few years, not being touched. And then I wanted a smaller game to just bring out one afternoon. I had like a spare 45 minutes or so, and this game is Cartographers. Now this is just the base game box. I believe you can get the Heroes box now, which has more maps and cards and everything. This is just the base game, and it's absolutely fantastic. As I said, I played this 10 times this month after it not being touched for a very long time. It's a game where you are a cartographer, you are drawing cards and they have polyomino shapes on them, and you draw that shape somewhere on your map. You are trying to satisfy certain scoring criteria. So in the first round, you are scoring A and B. In the second round, you're scoring B and C, then C and D and A. In the solo variants, you have target scores that you total your score in the end, and then you have to minus your score from the target total. So sometimes you can get negative scoring, which some people may not like, but I don't find it happens too often once you get into the flow of the game. This one really surprised me again. It's a lot of fun. It's really nice. I'm not really artsy, so I think it was a bit of a barrier to me to get it back out, because you can see all these pictures of people online of having their beautiful maps drawn and really getting into the art style of it. I just colour in the box and be done with it. And once you get over that aspect, you can just colour it in, and yeah, you don't have to worry about it looking too pretty anymore, and I would highly recommend this one. It's super fun. Now, the next game on my list is one that I'm not actually going to talk about in this video. That game is Frosthaven. I've played that one 7 times this month, but that is with my husband. We've been playing that one multiplayer. I will talk about that one again when I actually get the chance to play that one solo. Both of our characters are level 5 at the moment, and you need to be level 5 before you start the solo campaign, also the solo scenario, so I will talk about that one a little bit more when I get that one to the table solo. The next game on my list is a bit of a contrast to Cartographers. It is one that I've played 7 times this month, put 7 hours into, and it's one, even though it's one of the biggest solo games I own, it's also one of the first that I bought. Think of that as you will. I've left the box elsewhere. I've just got the lid here with me. This is Mage Knight Ultimate Edition. Now, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with this game. I am probably worse at this game than any other game in my entire collection. One of the base game scenarios is a solo conquest. So you are bringing your Mage Knight out, and the target is to discover 2 separate cities and defeat them. Defeat all of the creatures and monsters that you may find in them and take them over. You're supposed to set the city levels at 5 and 8, I believe. I have never managed to get past, I think, 2 and 3, or maybe 2 and 4. So I just don't get the strategy in this game. I'm really, really bad at it. Saying that though, that doesn't really deter me from playing this game. It is it's a deck builder game, and a tile revealing game. So as you adventure around the map, you are drawing new tiles out, and you may find like mage towers. You may find keeps, more monsters that are like roaming the land, and you have to play cards from your hand to move, to attack, to bribe people into your party to become units that you can then action on your turn. It's a game that has endless replayability. This is my desert island game. I have the Ultimate Edition, and I feel like I could have just bought the base game with the solo expansion and be done with it, because I will never scratch the surface of this game. It's got so much content. It's unbelievable. It is a game that I feel a bit sad when I look at it sometimes, because I feel like it's a game that I could really benefit from setting it up and playing it solidly for a month or two or longer. There's so many different scenarios within the base game, and then on top the expansions. Every time I get it out, there's so much heavy rule set that I have to relearn some of the rules again. So I tend to stick with the same scenarios that I'm familiar with. I don't tend to adventure too far into the rest of the content. And because I've got such a large collection, I say large collection, probably not compared to some people, but because I've got so many games that I want to play, I just don't feel like I'll ever get into that content. But it's one that I have a lot of fun with every time I get it out on the table. As long as you're willing to put quite a lot of effort into your first few games to learn those base game rules and how the cards play from your hand, and to not take wounds. That is essential. You can't get anywhere unless you take wounds in this game. You will have a great time. So that is Mage Knight, and one of the greatest solo games of all time. And if you are looking for solo, if you can pick up the Ultimate Edition, that's great. But otherwise, the base game with Volcair's expansion, that is probably going to do you for the rest of your life. Now, the next game on my list I have played for 7 hours this month, a total of 6 times. And it's quite a recent acquisition as well. This one is Clinic Deluxe Edition. Now, I was quite interested in this one from the theme. It's one that I've not really heard too much about. Some people said that they absolutely love it solo. Other people say that it didn't really do anything for them. I just liked it for the theme, and it was a pretty reasonable price point, which is quite important to me. So I picked this one up and gave it a go. Now, it is one that I really like because it's quite ironic in how the rule set is set up. So, for example, you earn money from treating patients. Now, you can admit them to your clinic, and if you don't treat them until they are literally on their deathbed, that is how you may win the game, by earning more money from the sicker patients. Now, some people say that sort of draws them out of the game and takes them out of the theme, but I've worked in some health insurance companies before, and I don't have the highest opinion of private specialists sometimes, so I do know how private healthcare does work in a way, and unfortunately that may not be too far from reality for some people. It's also a game where you have to control how many cars you have in your car park. It's a game when every time you admit a patient or hire a new person for your hospital, you have to find somewhere to park the car. Some people don't like that aspect, and they feel that it's just a bit of a Tetris game where you're meant to be running a clinic, but actually you're trying to manage the car park. I think that's a really fun aspect of the game, because also, like, one of the main things around where I live, parking is a big problem when you go to the hospital, have a hospital appointment. It costs an absolute fortune, and I know that some people have to pay for parking when they work in the hospital. I don't know if that's the same everywhere, but yeah, it's a game that really highlights the not so positive aspects of healthcare, but also does it in a really, really fun way. It is essentially a beat your own score game. You do have sort of win-loss criteria, but I find it quite fun to try and beat your own score. I am quite a fan of that anyway, and yeah, Clinic is been a lot of fun so far. I also tried this one with my husband. That was really fun as well, because it had a little bit more competition of spaces on the board, and you might admit the patients that I was looking to admit, but it's not too competitive to be a negative. So yeah, I really highly enjoyed that one multiplayer as well. So after playing Cartographers this month and having an absolute blast playing that one, I had a bit of a roll and write spree, and I may have bought a few extra games, and one of those was Ganz, Schon, Clever, or however you say it. This is one that I have seen in some shops nearby. It's one that you can actually find in retail alongside like other games like Catan and that. And so I was aware of it, and some people have posted about it on various Facebook pages before, saying it's their favourite roll and write because it plays so quickly. And so I was interested in it because it was very, very cheap, and it looked very fun. And I've only played it, I say only, I've played it 5 times so far, and I've only just scraped the bottom of the barrel in terms of scoring. You are just dice rolling, and trying to select the die that you may sort of push up on certain tracks or cross off boxes on your sheet. I do feel like this game is very luck heavy, but you know, it's a light-hearted roll and write game. It doesn't really matter. You can play it multiplayer as well, and it's a lot of fun. Now, the next game on my list is a game that doesn't have a solo mode out of the box. But I will talk about it anyway. I found a couple of solo modes on Board Game Geek. I'm not usually one to find solo modes on Board Game Geek and try them out. I prefer to have the rules printed in front of me, and at least I know from Board Game Geek whether the solo mode in the box is good or not. But I was quite desperate to play this game. This month I just really had an inkling to play this game, so I had a look for it online. Patchwork. Now I know you can get a solo mode for this one. Unfortunately, the only places that I can find it for sale in the UK at the moment is eBay, and I don't really want to pay the asking price for it. Hopefully I'll be able to pick it up at some point. So I tried 2 different modes by a Board Game Geek user, and that was really fun. I enjoyed them very much. I'm not sure how often I will get this one out from a solo perspective, just because it is a bit lighter for my certain tastes. So I did also play this one with my husband twice this month as well, so that's where my 4 plays have come from. 2 were solo, trying out each of the solo modes, and 2 multiplayer. This is a really fun polyomino game where you are paying buttons as a currency to pick up little patchwork tiles to place on your quilt. The person at the end of the game with the most buttons wins. It's just quite a light-hearted, fun game, and you can end up with quite negative scores as well, so some people might not like that, but you do make a pretty patchwork quilt, so that's cute. The next game on my list was one of the roll and writes that I bought this month. I've played this one for 4 hours and a total of 4 times. One of those was multiplayer, but the other 3 times were solo. And that game is Dinosaur Island, Rawr and Write. Now, I am a big animal fan. I am a fan of Ark Nova. I love building up parks. I used to play Zoo Tycoon with the dinosaur expansion and have a lot of fun deleting, you know, the fences, watching the T-Rexes eat all your guests. So this one really appealed to me. I heard lots of good things about it solo. You're basically rolling die, collecting resources, collecting DNA to create dinosaurs to then put in your park. You are then trying to offset any threat that you gain from gaining the dinosaurs by building up your security and doing some dino tours to like generate excitement for your guests as well. This is an absolutely fantastic game. I played it, when I bought it, I played it solo first. If I'm honest, it didn't click with me right away. There was just something a bit off about it. I don't know, I wouldn't really call the rules complicated. They just didn't quite hit the mark. I had to keep referring back to the rule book to understand when I was taking threat, when I was taking die, when they were taking die, what they were doing with the die, and then if I was placing the die down on the action spots, when I would be gaining the threat from that. It confused me. So I was sort of left a bit underwhelmed. But then I played it again, and I played it with my husband, and I had so much fun. It clicked. It needs a play, I think, just to get the rules down, and then you're away. It's so much fun. I want to play this one all the time. Every time I get a game out, I'm like, yay, I'm having lots of fun, but now I want to finish off with a game of Dinosaur, Rawr and Write. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's a bit of a mix of multiple different things going on. So you've got a tiny little bit of worker placement or dice placement where you're activating your die faces on a little action board. You've got lots of roll and write going on. You've got your dice rolling. You've got your control of your tracks. So you may be generating lots of excitement and by creating lots of dangerous dinosaurs, but then you've got the aspect where you need to control your security, otherwise you're going to get some deaths. That's quite exciting. I do wonder about the replayability a little bit, just because I found that you can pop a lot of quite dangerous dinosaurs in your park, generate lots and lots of threat, but then because that pushes up the excitement track, you're still having a steady income of extra security. So I haven't had a game yet where I've had a single death. I don't know whether I've just been lucky or whether that is a self-balancing game where you're it rewards you for being quite adventurous into really pushing yourself with the dinosaurs that you create. I'm not sure yet, but quite frankly, I don't really care. I'm having such a good time with this game, and I can't wait to play it again. In fact, I might play it again after this video because I just love it so much. The one thing that my husband pointed out to me was he had a great time with it. We both did, but he said there's just not enough dinosaurs, and I absolutely agree. Like on the board, there's absolutely not a single picture of a dinosaur. On your sheets, you have 2 separate roll and write sheets. You have some pictures of dinosaurs at the very top, but that's it. There's no dinosaurs anywhere else. So I do feel like you're not quite immersed in the dinosaur theme. There's some dinosaur pictures on your buildings and your specialists maybe, but that's about it. So I feel like they could have maybe put a dinosaur meeple as the first player marker, just to put a dinosaur somewhere. Apart from that, that's the only negative that I can think about this game. I absolutely love it. I'm having an absolute great time. The next game on my list I have played for 2 hours. I've played it 3 times. And that is another one of the roll and writes that I picked up. This is the last roll and write that I picked up this month. 3 Sisters. Now this is a game where you are trying to grow your pumpkins and your beans and your corn to create the best garden possible. You're also planting perennials, and you may be generating honey in your hive or planting fruit trees and harvesting everything from there. It's I actually found the history of this one quite interesting. So it's based on a Northern American farming method where they plant these 3 crops together: beans, the corn and the pumpkins, and they benefit each other. So the squash plants, they sort of surround all of the soil with their big leaves and prevent weeds growing. The corn act as a structure to then help the beans grow, and the beans put nitrogen into the soil to help everything else grow. I thought that was really, really fascinating. Now in this game, you have 2 roll and write sheets and you have a rondel. And you have, when you play it solo, you have a farmer Edith, that goes around taking dye from you. And she also then activates those dye to scribble out sections of your garden. It is quite annoying. This one is one that I have, I don't really feel like I've played enough to really get the depth of it yet. I haven't really sort of triggered many big bonuses. I can't really say how much replayability this one has yet, in my opinion, but the theme really, really appealed to me. You know, I live in Somerset and this is a farming county, and so yeah, the look of this one and the theme of this one really appealed to me, and I'm having a lot of fun with it so far. My first impressions of this one are quite positive in that I do feel like there's lots of different routes you can go down. You can focus on planting your crops in your gardens, or you can go down like focusing on the perennials route or the fruit route, or there's a shed that you can do as well, and when you build items in your shed that may give you bonuses elsewhere in your garden. There's also the apiary, so you can then get some honey or wax, and then all of those things sort of generate different bonuses around the garden. So I do feel like there's lots of different routes that you can try and get your best score going down those different routes. So it's a lot of fun so far, and I'm excited to play it a bit more. The next game on my list is The Bloody Inn. I have played this one for 1.5 hours 3 times this month. This was new to me at the beginning of the year. I've actually done a playthrough of this one. I may be able to put the link somewhere, or it'll be in the notes down below if you wanted to see how this one plays solo. And this was one that I picked up without really knowing much about it. I've heard people say, yeah, it's great, but that was about it. I mean, the art was quite quirky and the theme appealed to me, but apart from that, I just sort of went in blind. And wowee, what a fantastic fun game. It plays so fast and quick. I can play this game pretty much all day. If put me in a room with Dinosaur, Rawr and Right in The Bloody Inn, and I'll be happy. I have so much fun in this game trying to decide what I want to do with the guests. Do I want to kill them? Do I want to keep them alive? Do I want to build their structure in order to bury more bodies? You've also got to really carefully manage your money, whether you launder it at a particular time or whether you try and eke out for an extra turn. It's really interesting, and it plays so fast that you can just play it back to back. And I have an absolute well of a time with this game. I absolutely love it. It's great. And the art is really quite quirky. It's very unique, and I really like that. Going back to bigger games, this is a game that I have played for 3 hours in the month of March. I played it 3 times, and that is Ark Nova. Now, obviously, many people have heard about this game by now. It was very hot last year, and I recently got it out again for the first time this year, and I'm having so much fun with it. This is actually under my table right now. I'm playing the Arno variant, but I am at some point hopefully going to do a playthrough of the base game solo. It's quite controversial from a solo point of view because the solo out of the box plays quite differently from the multiplayer game. So it's very much a race. You are racing in a certain amount, you've got a certain number of turns, and you have to be able to get your markers crossed, otherwise you score negative. I actually feel like it gives you a slightly different experience, but it still gives you an Ark Nova experience in a smaller amount of time. So I can play Ark Nova solo just out of the box in an hour with that experience, whereas, you know, the multiplayer games can go 2, 3, 4 hours even if you're really, you know, taking your time. And the Arno variant as well, as fantastic as it is, I'm halfway through a game at the moment and I've already played for 1.5 hours. So this is a game that I would recommend solo out the base game box. The theme is fantastic. The artwork is really cool as well. I don't know if there's actually photos in the game or whether it's just photorealistic drawings, but it's beautiful. It looks very cool on the table. It is a game that does rely on, you know, certain draws of cards. The deck of cards is like huge, but I do find that you just have to learn to adapt your strategy. I don't really understand people moaning about that so much. I mean, just take it with a pinch of salt. Some cards haven't come out. Just play with what you can, and you may lose, but you know, it's all fun and games. So I'm looking forward to actually playing this one with a few more Arno bots. With the Arno variant, that you can actually add as many bots as you want, up to 4 players. So that's really fun and it really does simulate a multiplayer game quite well. So I will be playing that a little bit more as well, but otherwise, yeah, I've been playing mostly the game just out of the base game box. And I believe there is an expansion coming this year, which is really exciting. I'm not usually an expansion person, but I might stretch for Ark Nova. I've actually backed the Zoo Tycoon Kickstarter that's meant to be delivering in September this year. I am super excited. They're meant to be quite different experiences, but still focusing obviously on the zoo building theme, and I cannot wait to try that one as well. So the next game on my list I have played twice this month, and it's only taken me 30 minutes. And this is a tiny little roll and write called Railroad Inc. Now, I must admit, this is not my favourite roll and write in my collection. It's one that I keep because it's one that I can play with lots of different people. My family have played this one with me, and it's also one that, as you can see, it really doesn't take any time at all. There's little to no setup and plays super quickly. I think I don't like it because I'm not very good at it. But it is quite a fun game where you are rolling dice and trying to build up your tracks of roads and railway pieces to try and connect as many exits as possible. There are a couple of expansions in here that I don't usually play with because they tend to sort of interrupt what you're trying to do. So for example, there's a volcano expansion in here where you've got a volcano in the middle of your map and the lava is spreading around. And there's another one where there's a meteor and that's sort of landing in various spaces on your map and destroying your railway pieces or your roads. I can find that pretty annoying. But otherwise, yeah, this is a really quick roll and write game. That is quite a lot of fun, and it's quite lightweight as well. So if you want to play it with your family or people that aren't usually into games, this is definitely one that I think can break through that barrier. The next game on my list is another roll and write. You can see I've been really up with my roll and writes this one. It was actually my favourite roll and write until I bought the games that I have received this month. So it's definitely contested for my favourite roll and write. I have played this one twice this month, and it's taken me about 14 minutes. So another quick playing one. This is Welcome to Your Perfect Home. Now this is a game where you are building up your little estate. You're making a little village. You are drawing cards and choosing 2 cards from there. One of them you're choosing a number and the other one you're choosing a symbol. And you may be building pools, you may be building up gardens or parks. You may be trying to split your rows of houses into like mini segments. and you're just trying to get as many points as possible. I really like the artwork in this game. It's styled in like a 1950s style, and it just really works and it looks really cool. So yeah, this is one that actually has quite a lot of replayability. I feel there's lots of different tactics you can try. So sometimes you can really push for lots of pools, because the more pools you have, the more points you're going to get at the end of the game. Sometimes you may be focusing on gardens. Other times you may be focusing on like segregating all your housing into like little segments, and then you can cross off areas on your maps to like increase the value of certain housing sizes. I've explained that really badly. Sometimes you can duplicate a house number. Basically, there's lots of different pathways that you can take to try and get the best score possible. I understand there is an expansion that gives you a slightly different solo experience. I think it's called the Alexis solo mode. I haven't managed to get hold of that one, unfortunately. I have been on the lookout for it, but quite frankly, you know, with these smaller box games, I'm usually quite happy just to bring it out every so often, play 2 or 3 games of it, and then put it away again. So I'm not too fussed. But yeah, from a solo mode, from this box alone, is a lot of fun for the box size and the price. I think it's one that really has quite a lot of replayability. I also want to try Welcome to the Moon. I believe that one is sort of the next recommendation in this series. So we'll see if I play any more roll and writes. The 12th game on my list is one that I have just done a playthrough of. Again, I will pop the link somewhere on this video or down below in the comments. It is an absolutely gorgeous game, and it's honestly probably one of the best produced games in my collection and one of the most stunning on the table. Honeybuzz. Now, I wasn't like raving about this one from a solo perspective in my playthrough, but watching the playthrough back when I was editing, I sort of warmed to it again. It looks amazing, like building up your hive, like when you actually fast track the playthrough a little bit and actually see the hive growing. It looks so cool, and the theme of it is really quite unique, and like when you're putting the fan down, and that's meant to simulate the bees like wafting their wings in the hive. It's very, very quaint, and that sort of hit me again when I was rewatching the playthrough back. So I played this one a couple of times this month, once for my playthrough, and then I did play it again after. It is quite lightweight, so it only takes maybe like 40 minutes maximum to play through sometimes. If you're after like a lighter weight game, it is one that it is pretty fun. Again, isn't my favourite solo game, but it's got some of the most stunning table presence, and of course it's got little squishy components, so that's always a bonus as well. Now we are down to some games that I have only played once this month now. The first one I have played for a total of 9 minutes. So it is the smallest game in my collection, Squire for Hire. Now I have a playthrough of this one again, link down below. This is a game that I can take with me absolutely anywhere. Look at the size of it, and it plays super quickly. So when you've got a spare 10 minutes and you want to play a game, it's perfect. The rules are awful, so you might need to watch a playthrough to understand what's going on. It took me a while to understand how to play, but once you get through that, it's super quick, super fun. So you can play this one multiplayer. I have never actually played it multiplayer. I don't really see the need to for the size of the game. I'm quite happy just to crack it out on the table when I've got a spare 10 minutes or so, and I really enjoy it solo. It's probably going to be one of my most played games throughout, over the years from a solo perspective, just because they can get out on the table so quickly. There's no setup, and it's one that you can play with little to no brain power left. So when I'm trying to play a game every day this year, so it's a game that I can play at 10 o'clock at night when I want to go to bed, but I still want to get my play in, and it's done in 10 minutes and takes little to no brain power. So it's great. I love it. The next game on my list you've probably all heard of. I have done a playthrough of this one as well, down below, link. And this is Final Girl, and I played this one for an hour. Now, I've only got with me here the base game, core box, and Happy Camp Trails. There's a bit of a mix of opinion about this game. I mean, people that love this game really love this game, and there's plenty of those out there. Other people think it's just too luck-based and dice-heavy. And I do definitely see where they're coming from. But I've sort of got over that with the tactile nature of this game and the beautiful artwork and the theme. The theme is really fun. And my favourite thing about this game is when you draw that final health token, just to see whether the killer has managed to kill you finally, or whether you've actually got 2 extra health and you pop back up after having your leg chopped off or something like that. And it also works the other way around, so when you do the final blow to the killer, you have to draw the token to see whether they've actually got some extra health or not. It's an absolute blast to play. It's very thematic, and I really feel the tension as you play through that story. It builds a really cool, fun, thematic story every time I play this game, and it really does feel like you're playing through a horror movie. It's great. And I haven't actually won with my other box. I've got Geppetto and the Carnivore Horror. I've only managed to play and win with Hans at the moment, so I'm hoping to get Geppetto played again soon and try and get a win eked out. But he has a few extra rules and he's a little bit more complicated to play. So the 17th game on my list is Hitsy Road. I've played this one for 20 minutes. I've only played it once. So this one I picked up in my local shop for about £8. It's one that I haven't really heard many people talk about. I honestly just bought it because, number one, the components are fabulous, but also the price point was, worth a shot. But actually I really enjoy this one solo. I mean, there's nothing to sort of shout about and go out and buy it specifically because you really want a great solo experience. It's never going to be the most amazing solo experience, but for what it does, for the price point that it's at, it's absolutely worth it to me. So when you play solo, you actually remove a little bit of the aspect of the multiplayer game. So there is a bidding mechanism in the multiplayer game, and the solo mode does obviously take that out because that won't be sort of workable in a solo game, and so the game does suffer in that regard. But you are still progressing along your sort of journey when you travel across the country in your zombie apocalypse. So that sort of aspect is still there. The main thing about this game that really appeals to people is the components, the component quality, and the theme of it. So the whole game is sort of stylized as if a child in a zombie apocalypse was creating their own board game. Like even across all the box, all the bits have been crossed out as if he found a board game and was like making his own from it. All of the components in there. So you've got some cards which are looking like they've been taken from other board games, and he's like put his own bits over the top of them. The resource tokens are all look like they're bottle caps. It's an absolutely gorgeous game, so beautiful. And if you're even, if you're creating your own board game and you just need some extra components, it's almost worth buying it just from that perspective alone. But I think this is a really fun, light-hearted, lightweight and quick game from a solo perspective. And I also really enjoy this multiplayer. I played this with my husband a couple of times and it's really fun. So yeah, that's Hitsy Road. So we're actually at the end of my solo gaming list, but I've got a couple of honourable mentions from a multiplayer perspective. So the first one is Harry Potter Dobble. I have also got the base game Dobble, but this is the Harry Potter version. I've played this once. This was multiple rounds. I played it with my husband. I'm not very good at this game, but it's a lot of fun if you just want. This is actually a game I take on picnics with me. I mean, it's not picnic weather right now, but it will be one that I take on picnics with me. So it's just lots of fun, light-hearted, and the Harry Potter version is just great. The final game on my list is a little bit of an honourable mention again because I played this one multiplayer with my husband, Lost Cities. This one's a little bit of a push your luck game where you're trying to sort of balance whether you're going to play one of your cards or whether you're going to hold out and try and get a lower value because you're trying to play cards in a sequence from low to high. The more cards you play, the further along a track you're able to get and the more points you're able to get. This is a game that I played with family as well and it goes down really well, so fabulous game. I almost wish there was a solo mode. There may be a fan-made solo mode somewhere, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. So that is the month of March for me. As I said, I have played so many games this month. I have never played so many games in my life in a single month. I've never put so many hours into gaming. Don't really know what got into me this month, but maybe it will continue and maybe it will tail off a little bit. Hopefully any more videos I do like this will not be quite as long in the future, because I'm sure that I will play hopefully some of the games at least on this list. Again, this is only a quarter of my collection, so I've got many more to sort of dive into. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Do let me know down below if there's any games that you particularly enjoy that are on this list, if there's any recommendations that you may have, and of course do feel free to watch any of my playthroughs if there's any that you're interested in, just to see if it's a game that you think may be for you. That is all from me today, so thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, and please subscribe to my channel if you did, and I will put out many more videos like this in the future playthroughs, and I will try and do a video like this every month just to summarise what games I've been playing solo. But otherwise, have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.